For nearly 2 years, the Atlantic Ocean kept the answer. The airplane was gone. The passengers were gone. The black boxes were missing. And one of the greatest aviation mysteries in modern history remained unsolved. Then, investigators found them. 2 orange recorders, resting nearly 2.5 miles beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Silent, waiting, holding every answer, every warning, every system failure, every conversation, every second of the final flight. For years, investigators had been chasing theories. Now they could finally chase the truth. And what they discovered would shock the aviation world. Because the first thing the black boxes revealed was something nobody expected. The airplane wasn't falling apart. Think about that. For years, many people imagined a catastrophic failure, an explosion, a structural collapse, a violent event that destroyed the aircraft. The recordings told a different story. The airplane remained intact, even as the emergency unfolded, even as confusion spread through the cockpit, even as the situation worsened. The aircraft itself was still there, still flying, still responding. And that immediately raised a terrifying question. If the airplane wasn't breaking apart, then why did it crash? Investigators continued listening, minute by minute, second by second. And then came another surprise. The engines were still running, not one, both. The aircraft had not lost thrust. It had not suffered total engine failure. The power plants continued operating. The very thing many people assumed had caused the disaster wasn't the cause at all. Now investigators faced an even stranger mystery. The airplane was intact. The engines were operating. The crew was alive. Yet Flight 447 was still heading toward disaster. How? The answer began emerging from the cockpit recordings. Not through panic, not through chaos, but through confusion. The crew was receiving information, lots of information. Warnings, alerts, changing indications, conflicting data. And the more information appeared, the harder it became to understand what was actually happening. Imagine driving at night. Suddenly your speedometer says one thing. Your GPS says another. Your dashboard lights begin flashing warnings. Then some warnings disappear. Then return. Then disappear again. Now imagine making life or death decisions using that information. That's what investigators discovered inside the cockpit. The pilots weren't fighting a catastrophic mechanical failure. They were fighting uncertainty. And uncertainty can be deadly, especially at 35,000 feet. As investigators reconstructed the timeline, another revelation emerged. The strange automated messages that baffled everyone in Part 1 suddenly made sense. For years, they looked random, disconnected, impossible to understand. Now investigators could see them for what they really were: a timeline, a story. The airplane had been documenting its own emergency, step by step, warning by warning, failure by failure. The clues were there from the beginning. Nobody simply understood them yet. And then investigators reached the moment that changed everything. The event that triggered the entire chain reaction. Not a catastrophic explosion, not a structural failure, not an engine failure. A loss of reliable airspeed information. Something so small, it sounds insignificant. Yet it became the spark that ignited everything that followed. Almost instantly, the cockpit became a place of uncertainty. The information pilots relied upon every day suddenly became questionable. Warnings appeared. Procedures changed. Situational awareness began slipping away. And the crew found themselves facing one of the most difficult challenges a pilot can encounter: making critical decisions without fully trusting the information available. At first, they fought the problem, professionally, methodically, exactly as trained. But the deeper investigators looked, the clearer something became. The crew didn't fully understand the situation they were facing. Not because they were reckless, not because they were careless, because the emergency unfolding around them was far more confusing than anyone realized. Every action produced new information. Every warning produced new uncertainty. Every correction created another challenge. And slowly, the situation began slipping away. Then, investigators uncovered the revelation that completely changed the story. The airplane remained flyable, long after many people assumed it wasn't. That single discovery stunned experts. because it meant Flight 447 was not destroyed the moment the emergency began. The aircraft could still respond, still fly, still recover. But recovery required understanding, and understanding was becoming increasingly difficult. The pilots continued fighting, continued working, continued searching for solutions. Meanwhile, altitude continued disappearing, second by second, minute by minute. The Atlantic Ocean moved closer. The warnings continued. The confusion continued. And then investigators finally understood why no distress call had ever been transmitted. The crew wasn't ignoring communication. They were consumed by the emergency. Every second mattered. Every decision mattered. Every action demanded attention. There was no time to stop, no time to explain, no time to tell the world what was happening, only time to fight. And they fought until the very end. As the final minutes unfolded, investigators realized something deeply unsettling. This disaster wasn't caused by a single catastrophic event. It wasn't one failure. It wasn't one mistake. It wasn't one decision. It was a chain reaction. One warning leading to another. One misunderstanding leading to another. One problem creating another. Until eventually the chain became impossible to stop. And that's what makes Flight 447 so haunting. Because the disaster didn't happen all at once. It happened gradually, piece by piece, moment by moment. The airplane wasn't doomed in a single instant. It was lost one misunderstanding at a time. Then came the final seconds. The cockpit recorder captured the crew still working, still trying, still fighting. No dramatic speeches, no movie-style ending. Just professionals confronting an emergency that had become impossible to reverse. Then, the recording stopped. For investigators, the mystery was finally over. The strange messages made sense. The disappearance made sense. The years of uncertainty made sense. The Atlantic Ocean had not hidden the truth. The truth had been there from the beginning. Inside the warnings, inside the messages, inside the data, waiting for someone to understand it. For nearly 2 years, the world believed Flight 447 was an unsolvable mystery. The black boxes revealed something far more unsettling. The airplane had been trying to explain exactly what was happening from the very beginning. Every warning, every alert, every transmission. The clues were all there. Nobody understood them until it was too late. Flight 447 claimed 228 lives, but the lessons it left behind transformed aviation. Training changed, procedures changed, technology changed, because investigators refused to stop searching, and because they refused to accept uncertainty as an answer. The airplane vanished. The mystery survived. But in the end, the truth survived too. For nearly 2 years, it waited in complete darkness. Beneath 2.5 miles of ocean, inside 2 orange boxes, waiting for someone to finally listen. And when they did, one of aviation's greatest mysteries finally came to an end.